Hello, and welcome to the Relevance of Now with William Linville. This podcast is an opportunity for you to welcome in what William is sharing and explore it for yourself in your day-to-day life and in your quiet times. Today, William is going to share clarity on creating a true, loving relationship with yourself. And hey, William.
Hey, Mike, how you doing, buddy?
Things are wonderful, thank you. And William, what would you like to share first about creating a true loving relationship with yourself?
To become one with yourself, to feel rather than think, feeling yourself within the physical embodiment, to feel the energy, the consciousness, which is pretty remarkable. The consciousness that starts to arise when you take a moment of silence with yourself. And what that means is no exponential stimulation, no preoccupations, or it could be you in the body. If you even feeling, because the more you quiet for a moment, the more that you're still for a moment, what starts to happen, the conscious mind fades out. And I say that being that the thought forms that have been running you, your life, what you do when you do, how you do, and all of the levels of productivity, survival, and all these elements that you're now becoming more aware of. And then what happens is old conversations, dialogues start to arise from the subconscious, which technically is not about the past. Obviously, they're still going on right now because you can hear them, you're aware of them. And this isn't about old memories, it's about dimensional particles and states that you're still having within yourself through the subpsyche and all of the underlying emotions that have been charging those dialogues. And then what happens from there is that all of that stuff comes up and comes out because you're saying, okay, all is well, it's all good, and thank you, but no thank you. And you start welcoming all these parts of oneself out of situations, whether you were sitting at the table and you made all these decisions over a meal, or the tensions, the stress, and all these beliefs based in your surrounding environments through those dimensional planes, through the memories. And now we have the beautiful opportunity to say, yeah, been there, done that, but that is just no longer true for myself. Matter of fact, in reality, it was never about yourself. But yet we start welcoming back all these soul fragmentations of oneself, including all of yourself with. You hear so much about a clear conscience. Well, this is about a clear consciousness to where from there, it comes up, it comes out, and then your body, you start to feel changes. You start to feel vibratory, radiant levels of acceleration of the vibratory frequencies in megahertz of light, which is where now you start to become clear with you, what is you, and clear with what is not you. And then we sit there with our physical form and all these other attributes that are played out. And one thing that's very important is that we can call it forgiveness, but let's skip forgiveness. Let's call it understanding of oneself. And what I mean by that is why you do what you do when you do it, why you react when you react, why you act when you do act. And it's funny, right? Action reaction, which hypothetically means movement of some sort, but yet they're not clear fluid movement. It's kind of like a big stick in the ocean or a big pylon when you're making a pier. The water flows, but of course it hits that pylon, and that pylon represents an identity within yourself. So the ocean curves around it, goes around it, just like the universe does around throughout your life stream and constantly moving, constantly offering. But yet, that pylon is I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm lovable, I'm not lovable, I'm this. I have eating or food issues because, well, going back to that situation at the dinner table when you started making all these decisions, which is like putting that pylon in the ocean to where the universe cannot interrupt divine order. It cannot, it wants to arise you, but it cannot force itself upon you. So when we go here, we're step by step saying, yeah, those pylons no longer serve. And, those pylons really, they were never really about me. The part that was about me is making all these decisions about that pylon or that situation and claiming it to be about oneself, embodying it, taking it into oneself to be a perceptional reality and identity that says, I am bad or I am good, or the more I eat, the more I don't have to feel, or at times sitting down and eating with your adrenals pumping to where the body stores it because it doesn't know what else to do. And what happens is it holds on to it just in case, because that's part of why you are downing all this stuff to either not feel or to run from the emotions now and the situations. So here is where we come back to the understanding of oneself, the understanding in clarity, in true interpretation versus misinterpretation, where you can sit, you can enjoy the scent, you can enjoy the flavor, you can enjoy the texture of whatever you may be consuming, or the weight of the costumes on the body, or even how the body processes without all that fight and flight. And then we take that part of oneself that was sitting there at the dinner table, whether there was yelling and screaming, whether it was a carnality battle, and where you're able to pull that part of yourself out of there. I would even say here, understanding why you do what you do when you do it around food. Or, and I'm saying using food because it's more of an identifiable energy and situation because everyone consumes some sort of sustenance. But now we get back to why do I feel this angst? Why do I feel this anger? Why do I feel this rebellion? Why do I feel all this stuff about fear of being controlled? Blah, blah, blah. Well, that's where we take our part of ourselves. We understand ourselves and we set that part of ourselves free to where now it's really you consuming, not the ego trying to run from the wounds. Now we get back to this as far as a relationship with ourselves. Number one, in a relationship with yourself comes clarity and understanding of oneself, why you do what you do when you do it, what's driving it, and what is having you act and react. And so you go there for a moment. There's all these groups about pushing your buttons, blah, blah, blah. But just to plant a seed here, what would life be like for yourself without any buttons, without any charged identities, without anything outside of ourself having any power or effect over how you feel about oneself? Because when you get back to the simplest terms, here you are, a creator expressing through a physical conduit, embodying within it, integrating through it. And it's all peace and wonderful, blah, blah, blah. If we live somewhere on a deserted island, we have the beach, we have the palm trees, we no worries. But what happens when you pick up your body in the morning, or for some in the evening, whatever it may be due to your schedules? What really has the power that you become identified with that allows the outside world to enclose around you rather than you emanating through your body through the world? It reminds me of the whole scenario about a lighthouse. Now, a lighthouse is a funny thing because could you imagine if the darkness enclosed upon the lighthouse and the lighthouse became dimmer and dimmer until eventually it's a flicker, till eventually it just The light doesn't exist. Well, I would say that's a great example of the world closing in on you. And I say the world, not something to be afraid of, definitely not an enemy. It's all the mass collective thought forms that are constantly bombarding you. And that's before we even come of age, before you go through your family monads, blah, 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 about who you are, who you're supposed to be. You're a success, you're a failure, blah, blah, blah. From the exponential world that's been given so much power to define you, which goes into defining how you feel. And then we take all the skills or lack of from coming of age and you act and react to it. Well, what happens right now is we all just go to a deserted island, anyone you, any kind you want. Well, or even a jungle. Jungles are beautiful, but they could be a place to hide. They could be a place of refuge, or for others, they can be a place of fear based upon the unknown. Now, what happens when we go there and we are just really the light, the lighthouse? We're just really creator as you, as that light, expressing, integrating and expressing through a physical form where we don't have anything to base anything on. And as we don't have anything to base anything upon, we are completely present because you don't know any different. And you're present because you're not allowing the outside world to define you. You're not allowing for the what ifs, the unknown in the jungle to become afraid because you don't know to be afraid. That was taught as well. And this is where we really get to know yourself, how you actually feel, not how you were taught, believed, perceived, and supposed to feel.
Excellent. Is another way to say creating a true loving relationship with yourself, it is creating a true loving relationship with your heart?
Well, the hard part, that's where it is the major part of yourself. It's the passion, the compassion, the joy, the bliss, without any judgment, because the heart doesn't think, it emanates. And becoming one with yourself is becoming one with the heart, which is the centralized chakra level vortex and portal vortex within yourself. That's truly how and where you as creator emanate through the world to where we're no longer playing with the consciousness alters matter. We're playing with you as creator expressing through the matter that now is the beautiful power place and PowerPoint of true benevolent manifestations.
And it made me think about that because you were mentioning a number of times how creating a true relationship with yourself and understanding yourself is based on feeling. All feeling resides in the essence of the heart.
Absolutely. Emotion resides in the portals and the cellars and the basements of the ego.
In your book, Relationships with Everything and Everyone, I cut out a chapter that you could comment on further in the A True Loving Relationship of the Heart with Your Life Stream. And this chapter says, for the only disease here, the only conflict is a lack of love, or shall I say, a lack of you. It's primality. It is a defense. It's also the angst of an offense of protectiveness, but yet it's still the absence of you. It has nothing to do with a relationship, not even with oneself. It has to do with the absence of a relationship. It has everything to do with the automatic pilot primality, carnivorousness. It has everything to do with automatic pilot of primality. It has nothing to do with the outside. It has everything to do with work and domination. And how would you expand on that writing?
The heart in you have no beliefs. You have no polarities, danger, fear, carnality, survival does not exist. It's that constant state of isness, that constant state of expressiveness, expansiveness, until you bought into being taught that that's not okay, that it doesn't fit into the box. Then others, maybe the world, maybe families, partners, whatever, it doesn't fit into that. It's a blast to play with through all of it, but no longer being dictated, dominated, boxed in, ran by the fear levels of what if, the fear levels of rejection, the fear levels of betrayal, the fear levels of abandonment, the fear levels of not being accepted, the fear levels of not being good enough. And right now, let's just all take a breath for a moment. Let's really within ourself. There's you, then there's the mind, then there's the body, there's even the soul level, the Akashic record realms. Right now, let's just take a breath, a slow, gentle breath in through your nose, through your whole torso. Hold. And now just gently exhaling as if you're attempting to whistle. It's really right now. Let everything around you, even the ego you, the belief system you, let's just let it disappear. Anything and everything that represents protection, survival. It could be your car, it could be your home, it could be, I don't know, your costumes, your offsprings, blah, blah, blah. Let's just take a breath together and let's look at all these areas that the mind slash the belief system slash emotional levels of consciousness. Let's really look at it for a moment and ask ourselves what, where, and how do I perceive myself to even potentially be threatened? All this stuff is taught, but all this stuff that's been taught is all based in time. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, what if, and all that fun stuff. So, right now, let's just see what it's like within ourselves to have nothing to protect, to have nothing to fight for, to also have nothing to stand up for, have nothing to prove, to validate the ego as a live deity. Kind of like if I'm a CEO, that makes me a XYZ. But actually, it doesn't make you anything. Maybe it puts your body on a different floor in a building, but that's pretty much about it. Doesn't make you smart, doesn't make you ignorant. You're still you. Doesn't make you important, doesn't make you not important. Doesn't even make you a corporate executive. Those are all boxes. So let's just really connect with you without any reflection of what the exponential world says about you. Because now we really get to see from you and through you, what do you really enjoy? Not what you were taught to enjoy. What really puts a wiggle in your step? Not what you were taught to, but and now we're getting to the true reality of oneself, of you. If you enjoy boating, great, but it doesn't make you a sailor or a captain. It just makes you in a state of enjoying being on the water. No boxes. If you enjoy doing plumbing, great. But it doesn't make you a plumber. It's just something you enjoy doing or exploring for that matter. So we're taking off all these labels, all these boxes. And it's not just about a word game. It's a lot more deeper and in depth because it's all stuff that you do that still has nothing to do with you.
Thanks for that, William. And when we're really caught up in some emotion in our day to day life, and it could even be something that we're that it's been a long term fear of ours. And when we take a moment and we notice it, it's not necessarily something that we are going to, move beyond instantaneously. And but in that moment, how can we move beyond it to get back to connect to our true essence, our true heart?
Number one, ask yourself, where do I feel threatened? Why am I feeling threatened? And number two would be, does this, in the big scheme of everything, does this really matter? And then connecting with your body. Let's go back to the heart. As we just take a nice breath into the heart and through the diaphragm, letting the solar plexus close down. Let's hold and let's exhale and let's ask ourselves, what here really matters to me? Not the personality, not the ego. And even asking ourselves, is what the situation around me presenting? Is it true about me? And you start to realize that no, it has nothing to do with you, except you went into carnality, you went into survival, you went into internalizing all these exponential levels and states of self preservation. Now, let's just take another breath. Even right now, even looking around you physically, feeling around you physically, are you really truly in danger? And then asking yourself once again, is what is going on around me really even about me? And that's where you start to be able to separate you from the ego, you from the mind, you from all the filters that allows for a whole nother wave of yourself to come in, which is a whole nother wave of love as well, a whole nother wave of light as well. And you start to look at, okay, so this situation's going on here, it's going on there, on and on and on. And what belief system do I have that says this is not matching my belief system, which has you go into a state of panic, survival, as you go into a state of feeling threatened, because it just doesn't fit into the boxes that you've previously put in place via past experiences.
Here's another question, Will. Often in thinking about a relationship with ourselves, we feel a lot of responsibility.
Uh-huh.
When it comes to and the responsibility is based on our beliefs, and what are we truly responsible for?
All comes down to it. There's different levels to it. There's a divine responsibility. And on that one, I would say to integrate, to embody the love, the light beingness that is you, and to express, not creating another religion, not creating another belief system, but the more love that you express, the more light you express, the more unconditional expression and reception that you express, the more freedom of judgment that you allow yourself to have, how it affects not only you, not only your family monads, not even your homes, your work environment. It goes not even just the planet, although it affects all the above, but it goes beyond the planet to affecting the whole universe. And the magnetic calibrations of how this universe spirals, how the magnetics that are holding the very planetary states in place, and as well is going beyond this Milky Way, this galaxy, and it goes beyond that to all the other Milky Ways and galaxies, and it goes through all the wormholes, black holes, all the way to your source consciousness. And it goes into your source consciousness as your source consciousness is coming down within and throughout yourself. And it's what Sananda goes back and says that I and my Father are one, which means I and my Creator are one, the Creator in which I am a facet of. And all this other preoccupation stuff, all the other identification stuff really starts to break away, dissolve. But yet, here you come. It's part of the journey. It's kind of like health and vitality. Health and vitality is the easy part. That's you. That's you coming into the body, all the systems working, firing, running forth in communion and harmony as yourself with the whole universe until you start receiving or deciding that this is that, that's that, that's that, that's that. And it's just how the mind works at times, not the ego, but the mind. The mind wants to put everything in boxes. Now, it wants to put everything in boxes. Let's call it categorizing, if you will, or compartmentalizing. Ego comes in to judge it to be a this or a that or a that or a this or danger, on and on and on. Now, many dear ones will share with you, you need an ego. And what I hear there is so you need a part of yourself polarized, dualized, and absent of oneself to survive. Well, I'm not into surviving, I'm into living.
And some people feel selfish if they put their attention on creating, developing themselves or assisting themselves. And that was along the lines of asking about responsibility because they feel a lot of responsibility for others. And what would you say to people that feel it's a little bit selfish for me to focus on creating a true loving relationship with myself?
Let's put that in perspective. We could be, or at least perceivably attempt to be responsible for everyone else. But there's a fine line between being responsible for others and controlling them. Those kind of fit into the same umbrella. And so we're going to take responsibility of how they feel, what they think, what they're doing, what they're not doing, especially when it comes to little ones. Your job with little ones is to guide, not control. Now, for yourself, let's really put this once again in perspective. The more that you put attention upon oneself, is it's a double whammy because it becomes selfless because you're dissolving the fictitious self. And then on the other side, you're also being true to oneself. But now it's kind of like goes back to I am my beloved are one, or I am my father are one, said Sananda, or Yeshua ben Joseph, technically. But then you look at, okay, if I explore and really get to know oneself on all levels in every dimension, well, as we put this in perspective, now let's look at long term, permanent, beneficial change for all concerned. Because now you're honoring yourself and you're still selfless. Selfish is Okay, this is mine, that's mine. You go, you can't touch it. Don't look at me. And that's a whole different that's like an ego definition of selfishness. Now we're going into more selflessness, being true to oneself, to where through the genetics, through the DNA, through the cellular vibratory levels, we're actually affecting all the dear ones within our life, everyone around us, especially through, you know, the family monad. It goes all the way through lineage after lineage of repetition of genetics and branching off of genetics. But right now, as you're being true to oneself, and true to oneself, you can call selfish because you're focused on being the best you can be, which means you're being honest with yourself, high integrity with oneself, clear within yourself. But genetically, DNA, cellularly, biologically, on and on, you're affecting the planet. You're affecting all the dear ones through the family monad. You're becoming that missing link that is now being connected and amplifying, which allows for everyone and everything to be affected with so much more ease and grace, so much more love. I remember situations where a dear one, she had a lot of father issues and issues with males, blah, 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 and hadn't talked to the father in 17, 20 plus years, whatever. But the day she decided to let go, she decided to look at it right in the eyes and address what was really going on, not all this ego fictitiousness. Guess who called that night? They feel it. It's not a happy go lucky, it's not even an osmosis. It's a magnetic current through the DNA, through the genetics, through this various cellular vibratory levels that goes dimensionally where you just let them off the hook. They let you, I mean, you don't have to have them let you off the hook, but you let them off the hook to where now that affected their biology, it affected their heart, it also affected their thought processes, and it also opened up a door that let go of all the old family monad matrices magnetically that all stayed in a certain way, shape, and form to where it came from. It affected them, then it affected their soul, then it affected the emotional calibration lattice work, then the message went all the way through the subconscious to the conscious. And all of a sudden, they had a wave of love through their heart, and your face showed up for them. And I can't say they're always conscious of it, but it doesn't change the facts of what's going on.
Wow, fantastic, William. And as we run forth with creating and putting our attention on creating a true loving relationship with ourselves, is there any additional thing you'd like to share to close?
Yeah. You know, I would encourage everyone, I'd say pretty much with everything that you enjoy, everything you do, everything that you experience, even all the way to the simplicity of um, what you consume within your body, and asking yourself, just stop for a moment. I mean, there's habits. You get up, you make coffee, you do this, you do that, you wear this color, that color, not that color. Just to stop for a minute, take a breath. Because when we pump the brakes like that and we say, why am I doing what I'm doing? Do I even enjoy coffee? Do I enjoy this color, this fabric? Do I enjoy what I may be doing for abundance each day? Yay or nay? And, where you really get to become clearer within yourself. And also building more of a relationship within yourself to get to know yourself, to see what is really autopilot and what is really you, what is really repetitiveness of action, words, and deeds based upon others and society and what you've seen, what you've experienced, what you've witnessed, all the way back to what am I doing? Why am I doing it? These are things that create all these pockets of freedom within yourself and more clarity, understanding, and just really grows and grows exponentially with the relationship with oneself and the understanding of oneself.
Thank you, William, for all that powerful wisdom to apply to our life, to assist our lives. And thank you all for joining us. Take care.
Namaste.